Live from the Shabby Shack, in association with Liver and Bacon Productions, it's ATW Podcast.
Shabby Shack. Liver and Bacon. Shabby Shack.
ATW Podcast.
We good? Are we good? Okay. Hey, welcome to ATW Podcast, live from the Shabby Shack. Although today it should be called the Sexy Shabby Shack, I reckon. What do you reckon, Steve? Don't you think? Yeah, 100%. We have got none other than beauty queen, television host, actress, dancer, and in 1964, she was Miss World. It's Ann Sidney. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Well, that was a nice introduction.
It was a good one, wasn't
Very
it?
Good. I
You brought friends
appreciate
with you.
I did. This is the lovely Linda Taylor.
Hi, Linda Taylor. What's going on? Are you guys related?
No, she's a family friend of mine.
Excellent.
And she's staying with me for a few days while she's over from LA.
Well, she's like, do you ever go to LA? Does she take you to LA?
I have been over there once to see you, haven't I?
Okay.
And we actually, with her sister who lives in Perth, and we went to Santa Barbara for the day. So you imagine the three of us. And her sister is equally as beautiful as this young lady here.
You both look related. You look like you're
possibly.
related. Don't they? Wouldn't you agree, guys? I mean, they're totally related. Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
But,
So listen, so you actually have a famous grandfather, correct?
Yes.
I do.
Go on, tell us quickly about your grandfather before we carry on with Anne.
Taylor.
Harry Taylor,
So
okay.
he was a famous photographer in Bournemouth and used to take pictures of the Beatles and all the famous people. Yeah, he was very good.
Wow.
And I knew him. This is how the
Yeah.
connection is.
So you knew him.
And also your grandmother started a Dawn modelling agency in Bournemouth, and I was about 15, and she started training me. So that's sort of how I started getting into the fashion industry as well.
So you were born in Poole Hospital, weren't you? No, I'm talking to you, Anne, now. This is actually more about you.
Actually, I was born in Chippenham, Wiltshire.
Were you really? It says on Wikipedia you were born in Poole Hospital.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it
that's
does.
wrong.
But then weirdly, where it sounded confusing, it then said, and then later on, Anne moved to Poole. And I thought, well, if you were born there, you would have then pretty much not need to move there.
The thing is, my father, during the war, was transferred down to Chippenham because he was in charge of supplying meat in the West Country. And then once the war was over, which was more or less just before I was born, and after that, when he came back, we moved back to Bournemouth. So basically, it was just a short time. But I was born actually in Chippenham, Wiltshire.
But you went to school in Poole.
I went to school in Poole.
You did. You went to Kent Welsh School.
I did.
Yeah.
And Martin Road, Junior,
You did. Yeah.
which doesn't exist anymore.
Does it not? Do you know what it is now?
I have no idea.
It's not the one that's Court Hill School, is it? Might be.
Possibly.
Possibly.
I mean, it was sort of corrugated iron on the top. But my goodness, we have great teachers.
I just want to find something we've got like a coincidence with, like something we've got in common. But yes, maybe it's Court Hill School. We both went to the same school. Yes, we did. So Anne, listen, how did you get into modelling? How did you go from Kent Welsh School in Poole to suddenly you enter Miss Poole? Yeah.
Yes,
and then from Miss Poole, you enter Miss World.
Well, yes, it was quite a short journey in lots of ways because I entered the Miss Bournemouth Regatta Queen.
Regatta Queen.
Regatta Queen, and it was all held in the Bournemouth Gardens, with the pretty, everybody was sat in their deck chairs. And they always go for the underdog, the British public. And there's the most glamorous, gorgeous blonde. And I thought, I didn't stand a chance. But the hairdressing, I was hairdressing when I left
Do you remember
school.
her name?
No, I don't, I'm afraid. But
I think her name's Sherry.
What?
I think her name is Sherry. Sorry, it'd be a really good time right now if I said down, 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 down. No, that's not going to happen. But my mum does Pilates with her every Thursday morning.
No, come on.
No, what am I? She was the runner-up. She was second.
She was a runner-up.
Yeah, it was
Anyway, and they put this crown on my head that looked like something, it was out of a fancy dress store. I had this crown on my head, and I'm standing next to this gorgeous blonde thinking, well, this is strange. How did this happen? And then the hairdressing salons wanted me to go into it for publicity for the salon. And, there you are sort of walking around in my lovely gingham dress, saying, and Anne was working at Otis in the Square, so everything was for publicity then. Really.
So you were a hairdresser at the time?
Yes, from then, when I finished my hairdressing, we had to do 3 years hairdressing. And then I got lots of pamphlets about different contests all over the place, entered them as Poole, and it was just something to do really for fun and get out and meet people. Really, it wasn't taken very seriously back then, and certainly my father didn't like me entering any contests.
Did he not?
No, really. Well, what were they leading to? And then I got into the final of the Miss United Kingdom, and won that in 1964 in September, and 4 months later I won Miss World.
What do you actually have to do when you're in the competitions other than look
Walk
good
up
in a
and down
bathing suit?
suit.
Really? But you were the best at it then, obviously.
No, I mean, it's so different now. I mean, they do have talent portions, but we didn't back then.
Right.
It was just a case of, it was just different days. Every star.
Did you have to talk? Did you have to tell,
Well, you did.
tell a speech?
You did, when they shortlisted you. But most of the stars with the summer seasons, you'd have all the big stars judging, because in Blackpool, the old South Shore baths, which were sort of built in something like 1936, which were absolutely magnificent and massive. And of course, they're not there anymore. And it was packed with people, just packed, because people came out to see the beauty contest.
Yeah. I suppose it was. It's probably not allowed now. Is it allowed now? I mean,
no,
there'll be a lot of people going, that's not right.
There's loads of contests. I just judged one up in Leicester, which was Miss Supranational, if I say it correctly.
Yeah.
And she goes off to Poland, the winner. There's a lot of contests. It's just not in the public eye. Because
So when you were doing the one in...
It became passé, I mean, became not the right thing to do. It's not politically correct. But for my day and for the times in the 60s, it was just terrific fun.
So what year would that have been with Miss United Kingdom?
1964 September.
Yeah.
I won the
And
Miss
that
World
was
in
in-
November 1964, and then I joined the Bob Hope show, literally.
So
a
where
month
where
afterwards.
was the Miss World one?
The Miss World was held in London.
It was held in London.
Yes, at the Lyceum Theatre, and there were 63 girls from all over the world.
What was going through your head when you won? Do you remember that moment when you
I
won
never
Miss
expected
World?
to win, because I had a hairdressing job starting at John Lewis's department store, and I
In
called
Poole.
them up the next day and said, "I'm terribly sorry, I can't start tomorrow." "Oh yes, we saw you on TV last night." They said, No, don't worry, have a great year and come and get your hair done one day. So it was just overnight. Really.
So what did you do that night when you won? Do you remember?
Well, we had a coronation ball.
Yeah.
And we all had to go to it, and it was quite funny because all the girls were doing the gay Gordons and all the sort of old-fashioned dancing, and some of them from all over the world didn't have a clue what the gay Gordons were. And I didn't have to get up and dance or anything, because I still had my crown on and I had my evening gown on. And
So
my
they're all
sash,
dancing
of course.
around
So
you
they're
while you
dancing.
sit in
Yes, but
superiority.
actually what was so wonderful is back then there really wasn't any jealousy, that I recall. It was just everybody having a lot of fun and enjoying
Yeah.
themselves. And they all came to me and said, "We had a wonderful week." I mean, the Duke of Bedford, we had an Elizabethan ball there when everybody got dressed. It was really classily done back then. And I'm sure they are today. I mean, the Miss World is still going.
Huge, yeah.
But it's held, exactly, and the Miss Universe. But it's just not on national television.
Strange, isn't it? Has that got something to do with Trump?
Actually, he ran.
He ran Miss Universe, didn't he?
Yes,
So-
no, he was all for it. I'm sure he was.
Yeah, he was.
I said he was.
Were you ever involved with Miss Universe?
Sorry?
No, not you. Sorry, not you. Yeah. Were you ever? No.
No. She should be, shouldn't she?
Yeah, but I'm still talking to you, Anne.
All right,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah. Now
101%.
this is the bit I'm really excited about, because I'm a massive Bob Hope fan, and some of the people that you've worked with. Have you ever played that game, the 3 celebrities that you would have dinner with?
No.
No, you know the 3 off the top of your head. Two of which are on this right now,
Right.
but one of them I don't know if you've met him.
Well, I
but I'm-
remember, I think, way back when I was in this contest, I think that a similar question was asked, and who
Was
would you
it?
like to meet? Yes, strangely enough,
Who did you choose?
at Winston Churchill.
You did?
Back then.
Oh,
Yes, I
okay.
did.
Mine are better. I said Bob Hope.
Oh, well, Bob Hope, I was lucky
And you
enough
met
to-
him.
Yeah.
I said Frank Sinatra. You've met him.
Yeah.
The other one is Terry Wogan. Have you ever met him?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes, I
Okay.
did some show
So that's
in
it. You've
Southampton.
met my heroes.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah. And Mick Jagger, who you made a movie with.
I did.
What was he like?
Well, I only had a couple of scenes, really. I didn't have any scenes with him, although when I arrived, the director said to me, "Why don't you come along and get comfortable, on the set?"
Oh.
And yes, and I thought, well, okay, my agent said, go along and meet everybody. It was Donald Campbell, who was quite a character. And so they took me upstairs, and it was in a house, I can't remember, it was in London in Knightsbridge somewhere, and I know it's all in my book actually. And I walked in, and there was 3 people in the bathtub. It was Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger.
Yeah, Mick Jagger, and the other 2, the girls.
So Mick Jagger being Mick Jagger.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Did he want you to join in?
Anna-
Did he say, "Come on in, Ann"?
Well, that's what worried me. I stood there thinking, well, wait a minute. You know, I hope they're not going to ask me to get in there because there's no room for me to start with because I was a much bigger girl than the 2 girls.
Wow.
I was absolutely terrified. I thought any minute now they're going to say, "Oh, come and join us, get comfortable."
But
here."
he didn't. He
But they
didn't. Just for the record.
Yeah.
And those
But
and just for
actually-
the record, Mick, those girls wanted to be in the bathtub with
Yes,
Mick.
they really.
So
100%.
just backing you up, Mick. See that?
This is a movie, of course, and the director said, "Oh, this is Ann Sidney. She'll be playing the role of Dana, the girl singer in that's going out with James Fox," and he said, "Oh, okay."
That was it.
Just ignored me completely. He was too occupied with the 2 beautiful ladies in the bathtub.
Yeah, he's not short, is he? He's not short. He's definitely not. How is it? He's 82 now, and he's got a 32-year-old
Yeah,
girlfriend.
yeah.
So he's Mick.
Wow.
He's Mick Jagger. So you went off on tour with Bob Hope to the Vietnam War. How did that happen? That you go from Miss World to suddenly you get a phone call, or did you suddenly have an agent? Did
No.
someone pick you up and say, "This is what's going to happen next"?
No, you have to sign a contract with the Miss World organisation with
Right.
Mecca as such. I
So
mean,
they're a sort of agency in themselves.
they're an agency for you.
Yeah.
And he had seen the contest, and I think Rosemary Franklin 4 years before had gone on one of his, because he always did USO tours
Yeah.
most of his life, was entertain the troops, and so they said, literally within a couple of days, you're going in another month to join Bob Hope. And you'll rehearse in LA, and that's sort of all I knew. And suddenly, within literally 3 weeks, I was on a plane to Hollywood, having never been there before.
Had you been in
And
America before?
I'd never been in America, no, of course. I mean, I've been to the Isle of Wight on my
How
bike.
old were you at
that's
this
about
point? You've been to the Isle of Wight.
it. And suddenly I find myself rehearsing. I got there, and they had a limousine to pick me up and drove me to the beautiful hotel and right opposite the Chinese, where they have their footprints and everything.
Chinese theatre, yeah.
And I'm trying to think, it was obviously the Hollywood Roosevelt. And so then the car took me straight to Bob's house, and they said, "What keys do you sing these songs in?" And I suddenly thought, oh gosh, they're going to find out I don't sing like Doris Day. I'm going to be sent home on the next plane. But what was so amazing was that everything really worked out. And in a way, I had kind of been dancing in my life. I always had
Yeah.
aspirations to be around show business.
I just want to make sure that mic's a little bit closer to you. Sorry, I just
Sure.
want to, if that's okay. Yeah. Just want to make sure.
There you go.
Because I don't want to miss any of this, Anne.
No.
It's really good. This is good stuff. This is really good stuff. So how long were you then working with Bob?
So we then rehearsed and got the keys to everything we had to do, because we did Jill St. John, Anna Maria Alberghetti, Janice Page. I'm trying to think of the somebody in his band of renown. It's terrible. For a minute I've just forgotten it. But
Did he have a full band with
we
him?
had about yes.
Yeah.
We had 63 people on the military plane.
Yeah.
And there was hardly any windows in it, and we just flew. They flew us in. We were the first trip to go into Vietnam. The year before, they stopped the trip going in because it was too dangerous
Yeah.
for entertaining. So literally within a couple of days, I probably stayed at that hotel one night, rehearsed, went to CBS. We showed the clothes we were wearing. Jill St. John came in looking stunning, and the next day we were on the plane and doing shows in front of 5,000 troops.
And how was that? How did that feel?
Well, you
Because
learn
obviously
very
some
fast.
of these guys that they're going.
Yeah.
Did you meet a lot of them?
Well, yes, we did.
Yeah.
But
So
the
daunting
thing
for you
is,
because you were so
I-
young.
Yes, it was. But I think the thing that really affected me was at the end of every show, and you'd have 5,000 troops sitting on bleachers and Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, and we toured all over Vietnam, but we'd always sing Silent Night at the end of the show. And of course, it was Christmas time, and it was time when everybody was thinking about their family back home. And it was very touching to actually have the whole troops. It gave me goosebumps just then
Yeah.
thinking about it. And having everybody out there, including the people on stage, singing Silent Night. So Yes, it was an extraordinary experience, and I'm very grateful for it.
You told me a story before where you were heading to a hotel or something like that, and then didn't it get bombed an hour before you were supposed to be there?
We got into Tonsanoo Airport, and they decided they were going to fly us, and they couldn't fly the plane in, so it was a bit of a complication. And then we all had jeeps to take us into Saigon Square. And literally, as we got into the Caravel Hotel in Saigon Square, we heard a huge explosion, and the Brink Hotel opposite, which was the Officers Club, was blown up with a lot of people killed. And our hotel, all the windows were broken out, broken and glass everywhere. And Jill St. John looked at me and said, "What are we doing? You know, what do we make this decision for?" And Tony Hope said, "Well, we're going straight to the hospital." And we would have been in that Brink Hotel within 3 months.
Tony Hope.
Yeah, Tony Hope was his adopted son.
Okay.
And he was on the tour, and he said, "My father's going to see everyone. You don't have to come, but you're going to see some bad situations." And so we all did go. And what really I felt...
And this wasn't even documented, was it?
No. One thing about Bob, he never used any of that. He didn't film going in to see people with their legs off, arms off, and terrible situations. And I remember going in there, and he had blood all over his sleeve, and he just, rolled it up. And the first thing he'd say, "It's guys like you that make America great. Get back home, as soon as you can." And he was always there, very sincere. And I saw that side of him that obviously many people didn't see because we're out there entertaining, and he was such a wonderful entertainer. But we always had cue cards.
Yeah.
A chap called Barney McNulty was in charge of them, and they would change them everywhere we went. And he'd say, "Don't get used."
Oh, so the jokes weren't always the same.
Well, because obviously if we were in Thailand, there'd be different sort of jokes that you tell, or if we did a show to the King and Queen, so they'd have different idiot cards in front of us.
Did you ever work
and you got used to reading them and sort of changing everything. So it was very good for me because I was basically feeding a comic.
Wow. So
And
you
I
were
had to
the
learn
wingman, literally the wingman.
Yeah.
Did you ever work with, or did you ever meet Bob Monkhouse?
No.
No, because he wrote for Bob Hope.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So that's for some reason Bob Hope was obsessed with Bob Monkhouse and thought he was one of the best
he was very
joke tellers.
clever.
Very clever.
Yes, very clever.
Yeah,
and
really.
good comedian.
Okay, so we're going to change it up a bit now. So
Right.
you did all that with the Vietnam. Did you think after that, I'm just going to go back to Poole? Did you think what were you planning? You must have. Did you have a game plan? Because I know didn't you move to Australia not long after that?
First of all, when you sign with after the Miss World, you're signed for a year.
You're signed for a year.
And I
okay.
had a contract with the International Wool Secretariat to publicise and promote wool clothes throughout the world. And they had 21 branches all through Europe and Australia. Most of the fine wool came from obviously Australia. So I literally travelled 5 times around the world promoting wool.
5 times, okay. And that
With
was within the year,
suitcases.
not within the year.
Oh, yes.
All within the year?
All within the year.
Plus the Bob Hope thing?
Plus the Hope Show.
Okay, so when that year came to an end, what
Right.
was your initial plan and what actually really started happening?
Well, I had a contract for another 2 years, and I went to
Okay.
Eric Morley and said, "Look, I'm sorry, but I'm last year's model. The new girl is here. You have to kind of move on from this." And he said, "But we've signed you for 3 years. You've been so successful." And I said, "Well, I'm going to a rep company at £12 a week." And he fell off his chair. He said, "You're doing what? You can make so much money this next year. You've been so successful for us." Anyway, he sort of had a go at me for a while, and then eventually after a cup of tea, he said, "It's okay, we'll let you have the contract. Come back and see us sometime, but, we wish you well, but do you really know what you're doing at £12 a week with a rep company?" So I went straight into a rep company, which was bringing me back down to work very quickly, which was great.
You think that was healthy?
Yes, very.
Yeah.
£12 a week,
£12
living in
a week.
digs,
Living
ice
in
on the
digs. Where were you
windows
living?
inside. In Manchester.
You were living in Manchester then?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So how did you end up going to Australia? Wasn't that the next big move?
Well,
Was
that's
that the
kind
first
of
big move?
classified. That's a personal situation.
Okay, we won't go personal on this because
Good.
the professional is so exciting. We don't need to go personal on this, to be honest with you. Although I've heard some of it, we don't need to talk about it. It's
Good.
not important right now. But you did go to Australia.
Yes, I did.
And you were working in Australia
Yes.
because you were a game show host or a
Yep.
co-game show host, correct? And you
Called
did a
The
couple
Better
of films
Sex.
there. Yeah, The Better Sex. Yeah, what was that about?
It was male versus female on questions, you know, sort of nothing very serious really. But the trouble was the women were always winning. we were always winning.
They would have better sex, obviously.
I was obviously the host for the women.
Yeah.
And Mike, a gentleman there, was the host for the men. So it was very difficult. It was just common knowledge, sort of questions and one thing and another. And it was very successful in America. And of course, they copied the idea, Reg Grundy.
Oh.
Because Reg Grundy did all the game shows in Australia.
What about Merv Griffin? Did he copy it?
I met Merv Griffin.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you work with him?
No, never worked with him.
Okay.
No.
He
But
was the
actually,
big game show
I'm
guy
sorry,
in America,
That's
wasn't
absolutely untrue.
Why,
So
how
I
dare you
was-
lie to me, Ann Sidney?
Well, there was Penny and I were singing in Vegas, and Merv Griffin invited us on the show because Buddy Hackett said they were introducing new acts and new people.
This was in Vegas?
This was it was his show, his TV show in Los Angeles.
So you were, okay, we've just skipped from Australia to...
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
so...
I came back from Australia and I went to Vegas and then I auditioned and did it. I was a girl singer in one of the shows.
Did you go straight from Australia to Vegas, or
Yes.
did you go Australia Poole?
No, straight. No, straight to Vegas because the girlfriend that I worked with was from Poole,
Yeah,
Penny
okay.
France, and so we.
And her mum was an agent. Is that right?
No, her mum ran the club, the Fitz Club,
That's it, the Fitz Club, which was in Canver Cliffs.
Canver Cliffs.
Okay, right.
And your mum would know all about that.
I presume so, yeah. And my
All
dad,
of us.
I'm sure.
So I went to see her, and I said, I'm getting a divorce, and she said, so am I. We can cry on each other's shoulders.
Oh, nice.
When do you arrive? And while I was there, she said, well, don't go back home, back to England yet. You're not really over it. And so they said, well, just audition for a show. And I've never sung in a big show or anything like that. So that's how I got into the Casino de Paris as a lead singer.
So you just auditioned, but had you done much singing? Had you done much
I'd done the Rob
dancing?
Hope show. Everything like that gives you confidence,
Yeah.
doesn't it? I mean, you sort
Life
of,
experience.
And you're young. You really have no idea whether you're good, bad, or indifferent. You just get up there and do it, and hope for the best.
Did you do different shows in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah. What was
Yeah.
your favourite?
Well, it was fun to sing with Penny because we had a sort of a comedy act together, very British, and we used
Yeah.
to send up songs and sing, like Bad Leroy Brown, oh, such a naughty boy, and we do all this terribly frightfully
Which
British.
the Americans loved, I suppose.
And they love it. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
they love. They come back and see us time and time again when we were working. Because the lounges were very good back then, too. And we also worked in the Sahara
Legendary.
Haven.
Legendary.
Yeah,
Legendary, the
yeah,
lounges.
yeah.
So what year would that have been?
It would have been probably about 79.
79. Okay, so
and,
who would...
and Sinatra and all the Rat Pack. I knew you were getting to something.
Yeah, I'm
They
obsessed
were
with
all-
Sinatra, yeah.
They
so-
were all there still.
And
so
you
I-
met them.
oh,
Well, they
yeah,
would have
it was
enjoyed the
wonderful.
show, I presume. Did they come to the show?
Well, the thing was with the lounges is that everybody seemed to, back then, there were sort of lounges that had areas where the stars would come in and see shows, but you would sit and meet people. Tom Jones would walk in.
Yeah.
You suddenly think, oh, we better do a good show today.
But the Rat Pack were quite renowned for... they were quite renowned for showing up, weren't they? And
Yes.
being with the people.
Yes, always.
I mean, it's
But
quite...
that was Vegas back then.
That was Vegas, was it? So you'd see them in the normal casinos.
You would see them.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
So what was Frank like?
Well, I met him a couple of times. Of course, he was with Barbara Marx then. He was married to Barbara Marx.
That was his last wife,
Yes,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. His most successful marriage,
Yeah.
really, wasn't
And
it?
I'd seen him perform on stage several times, and
Was it an experience to see him live?
yes,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Did he look you in the eyes? Did he? No, that was supposedly the thing. Someone was telling me on my radio show not long ago that they said they went by an accident to watch him. They won a ticket and they said it was the best show ever because the curtains just went back and he just stared.
Well,
Yeah, he just looked. He had that power, which Mick Jagger's kind of got as well, I think.
Yeah.
You know.
well, there's that star quality, but also that success of knowing that everybody really was there to see him. I mean, they were so
Yeah.
excited to see him and just loved him, but he was good with people, very good.
Sorry,
I
whose
thought that
phone
was-
is that?
I thought that was
Is
awesome.
it yours, Anne?
I'm so sorry.
Okay, you're allowed. I was blaming Rodney there in the
Yeah.
background. We were all like, Rodney,
Yeah.
did you switch your phone off?
It
It was you, Ann Sidney.
All right.
It was naughty Ann Sidney.
I know,
Oh.
I'm a bad girl.
Put
Whoops.
it on airline mode.
Are you
No, I'm
switching it off or are you
panicking.
going to check the message?
I'm so
Do you want to make a call? I mean,
Right. Airline mode.
airplane mode, amazing.
I'll have a drink on that.
Yeah, have a drink. Have a
Can I
drink.
just
Do you want a
have
drink?
sip?
Come on.
Have a drink.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Can I have a sip of your... I haven't
Yeah.
actually got one, but I can't... Yeah,
what a
I've got a
shame.
water.
Sorry.
I'm on the
that's
water, I'm
enough.
afraid. You're on water as
No, I
well.
said, do you want some of mine?
Oh. I'm okay right now, but thank you. Please enjoy. Keep it in your hand. Keep it in
Oh,
your hand.
that's good.
Keep it in my hand.
Yeah,
I
so you
don't
can-
want it on podcast.
That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely
Supposed to
fine.
be a pub.
It's my...
Oh, that's right. The Shabby.
Oh,
the Shabby
it is,
Shack.
isn't it?
It's the Shabby Shack. It's a pub.
Okay,
It's a
well,
bar.
I'll
Yeah,
have
that's
it
it.
then.
Have
It's
another
not
drink.
supposed to be a pub in the back. It is a pub. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all right then. Well, it is actually a
It's like being on Cheers Bar. This is supposed to be a
Oh, I
real
used to
bar.
love Cheers.
My favourite show.
Oh, I used to
yeah.
love watching
My favourite
that.
show. Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah,
it was a really,
it was
really
very
good one.
good.
Danny DeVito.
No, that was Taxi.
Was it?
No,
No.
Thanks, Rodney.
It was Pearl,
Danny
whatever her name is, and she married him.
She married him,
She
yeah.
married
Yeah.
him, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
good. So anyway, Anne, back to the Rat Pack.
All right.
Yeah, back to the Rat Pack. So they would come to your shows, and I bet it was nervous if you suddenly said, "Did you meet Dean Martin then?"
Yes.
Was
I
he
mean,
a naughty
actually,
boy?
because I was in the Jubilee show at the MGM, the old MGM, before it became Bally's, and he was working there. And of course, we saw everybody backstage. We saw everybody
Yeah.
walking through corridors or whatever. Most of the time, we were told not to, interfere
approach.
or approach or whatever. But Dean was the first one to come and chat to us.
I love that story.
Saw any of the girls backstage, and he would just come in and say, "Hi, girls." He was lovely.
Really?
Same with Sammy Davis.
Really, that's
Yeah.
lovely. And
Yeah.
Frank was like that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Peter
Because
Lawford, was he
we're-
there? Was he
No, I
no
didn't
longer
meet
there
Peter
then?
Lawford. No, but yes, but I saw them on stage.
You
of course,
did?
At the old Sands Hotel.
Was it magic? Was it
Yes,
special? Yeah.
Fabulous. Yes, it was. It was just an era. You can't get it back. You just
No, not at
we'll
all.
never get it back.
Yeah, it's
Because
pure.
they were something very special, and they loved to drink, and they would be drinking on stage,
So it
and the
wasn't
audience
fake?
would love that. No, it wasn't fake at all, especially with Dean.
Well, it did start as fake with Dean, supposedly, that he would have apple juice. But they did say as the career carried on, it started actually being Jack Daniels a lot
But
more.
he knew how to play a drunk too.
Yeah, okay, so that's what it was. Because I saw an interview where somebody said they went backstage afterwards and he went, "Ta-da, I'm sober."
Yeah.
And they thought he'd been completely drunk on
Yeah,
stage.
yeah.
I want to ask you about one situation that you had there of somebody that summoned you or asked or invited you to their suite, and that was a certain Mr. Elvis Presley.
yes,
Tell us
yes.
that story.
Well, we were working in the lounge, and we had a phone, obviously backstage, and the phone rang, and Penny answered it and said, "I work for Elvis Presley, and we've just seen you girls work, and Elvis would like to meet you." And she said, "Oh yes," and I'm Marilyn Monroe type thing, didn't believe a word. And I said, "Well, that's strange." So the next afternoon when we were working, this chap I think called Red came to see us and said, "Really, we want to take you over and say hi."
You met
And
Red. Even Red is famous,
Yes.
isn't he?
Yes.
He's renowned. Yeah.
And so they took us over by car, and of course he was performing there at the Hilton, and took us up to the suite. It was all rather bizarre, really.
So did
'cause-
you see the performance first?
No, but I'd seen him several times.
Had you?
I mean, we were invited to go, but there were queues sort of that day, and
Yeah.
we were doing so many shows. We sometimes would do an afternoon.
You
then
were
an
too
evening
busy
show.
to see the show.
Too busy to see Elvis.
Too busy to see
And-
Elvis.
And so we went to the room, and he was just sitting there, and I had a cup of tea, and then his conductor walked in. His name's going to escape me, isn't this terrible? And said to us, "Okay, you two girls, we saw you work. You're really funny. You two are very, very funny." Joe Garcia, there you are. I always say it takes a while for the librarian to walk up, go through my files, come back down and tell me what I'm thinking of or what I need to remember.
Very
But
technical
Joe
files.
Garcia actually ended up marrying my Penny. So
Really?
had we have not gone to meet Elvis that day, she wouldn't have met Joe Garcia. It's funny, isn't it?
Amazing.
And
Sliding doors.
and for 10 years, Joe Garcia was his conductor. And I mean, they loved him. Priscilla loved him and everything else because he never gossiped anything about Elvis. Never.
And he would have seen everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He saw
And
the
then
lot.
he also, after Elvis died, had shows. What he did was use all the same musicians that worked in Vegas, and they had obviously a massive amount of film of Elvis singing these songs. So they toured Wembley and lots of places with Elvis up there.
I never got a chance to see it, but it looked
Yes.
phenomenal.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
terrific.
Did you
I
go?
went to see it. Oh, yes, because
Yeah.
Penny was obviously married to Joe Garcia, and he was the one touring with all the musicians.
still-
So
are they still-
he kept the musicians in work. Give me another drink.
Would you like another drink? Okay, that's good. That's good. So we still haven't talked about what it was like to go upstairs and actually meet Elvis.
I
though.
know.
How was it?
Well,
What was he like?
he was?
Was he a bit boring?
I mean, obviously, both Penny and I probably thought, oh, maybe we can be his opening act next
Yeah.
time. Or why is he meeting us? What's the purpose of this? But it seemed that, he was, I would say, a little bit down that day. He wasn't his, sort of, he had so many shows to do and, and also
What year was this?
this was towards the end of his life. And he was a little bit overweight and everything.
You don't know what year specifically?
I had because I've written a book and everything is absolutely
About
in that book.
1974?
But it would have been out 70 because
So
I went
he'd-
to Vegas in 72.
72. But him and Priscilla were still together.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But it
Yeah.
was. But I mean, by the
I
Vegas
think he
time,
had the other girlfriend, didn't he? I think
Ginger. Was her name
yes,
Ginger?
but I think I'm not sure they would. Don't ask me that question because I really don't.
Don't worry.
know.
That's okay. We won't hound you. Was he eating hot dogs? Donuts? What's going on? Have you been to Gracelands?
No.
No. I'd like to go to Gracelands because supposedly there's I mean, obviously I lived in LA for a long time as well. I absolutely love Los Angeles and I miss it every day. I lived in Orlando as well. But I've never been to Gracelands and supposedly there's a coffee shop across the street where you can have an Elvis dinner and eat what he ate. I'd do it for 2 days, but then I'm going on Slimming World for the rest of the week. You know what I mean? So,
Probably had hamburgers, didn't he?
hamburgers.
Yeah.
So we've got so much more we could talk about, but we've probably hit 28 minutes, haven't we? Yeah, I think we have.
Oh, you've got to have an
no, of course, no.
I'm
I
fine.
just
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yes.
Can we just talk briefly? How was the West? Because doing all that, you also did the West End, didn't you?
Yes.
What's your favourite out of everything that you've been doing? Have you got one thing that you really enjoyed the most? Like, because obviously, you couldn't have fathomed in Poole when you went for Miss Poole that you were going to end up doing acting, meeting Elvis Presley, meeting the Rat Pack, all this stuff, playing in Las Vegas, hosting game shows, and then being on the West End. There must be one thing that you go, wow.
Yeah, I think all of it, honestly. But the Bob Hope show was probably the most extraordinary experiences in my life because I was working with such professionals so fast, so quickly, and learning everything very quickly. Also doing Rattle of a Simple Man, doing the pantomimes, working with Les Dawson, working,
Les Dawson.
Yeah, love working
So
with Les.
somehow you did all that, and then you still came back to England and worked with some English legends
Especially
as well.
with the pantomimes.
Do you have a favourite person that you worked with on stage, other than Penny? I think Penny was like your best friend.
Well, she
You
was
were
a
like
best friend, and we
sisters.
laughed together because we toured Singapore,
sisters.
Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Abu Dhabi. We went and we all sang in the nice hotels at the top of the hotel where they'd have a dinner theatre type thing. I enjoyed doing the Derek Nemo tours, which I did with Leslie Phillips and Andrew Sachs, and David Jason. So yeah,
Rodney's trying to ask a question.
I'm
What?
not, I just said Derek Nimmo was fantastic.
yeah, he was.
You're not of an age to remember.
I don't, but I do know Les Dawson, of course.
Yes.
And a friend of the show, also my showbiz half brother Matt Black. We constantly go on about how brilliant Les Dawson
Oh,
is.
and he was just a lovely man.
Yeah.
Such a great man.
Would he
His
be
wife-
one of your favourite people to have worked
Yes,
with as well?
definitely.
You told me a
Because-
story that he left his door always open. Or
Yeah,
something
he
like
was in pantomime. I mean, he and Tracy, because he was with Tracy, his wife. Obviously, they've got Charlotte. They had another child, and he always had the door open for everyone, the dancers, everybody, and you just walk in and say, when you finish your number, hi, go in, and very few people do that because you kind of want your privacy when you come off stage. You really want a bit of energy, get your energy back and everything else. But he just loved people. He just asked everybody. And the wonderful thing with him doing that, it always comes from the top because the camaraderie between all of us,
Yeah.
because he embraced everybody, just made such a big difference to the show. Because on stage, he would always do naughty things like set off, the bad bombs of the smells and things on stage, especially
Stink bombs.
Stink bombs. That's
Really?
right. I couldn't think of the
Years
word.
ago.
Yeah.
Stink bombs.
And I'd have to
Haven't
sing,
heard
a Robin
were
Hood
horrible.
number or something, and I have to sing a very serious number, and you
And
think,
you
oh
go,
no, and he'd sort of go off thinking,
I totally see him in the back just smiling though.
Yeah,
playing.
he was naughty, very naughty.
Oh, and
Oh,
zero
Linda.
ego.
Zero ego. He loved everyone else to shine, and not many people.
Bit like you, Ann Sidney. Zero ego. We've run out of time. Can you believe that?
no.
What a shame. Oh, will you come back?
Yes.
Yeah,
But you
come back
have
and-
to have Linda.
Linda, we
Next
will
time.
have you. Yes.
Yeah.
In fact,
Next
Linda,
time.
come alone
And
sometime. That'll be
I'm
fun.
more than happy to do
You're going
it,
back to
yeah.
America next week, aren't you? So
Yes,
Linda
next
can come
week.
over in a couple of weeks. What do you reckon? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we'll put you in.
That would be
Yeah.
great because she's got some good stories to tell.
Yeah.
What? We're Bournemouth Football Club?
Yeah.
Why's that?
Those guys. I
Why? Speak it out. No, okay.
I've got a deal with the football guys to come and do this. And, yeah.
Oh, have you? You got a deal with Bournemouth Football Club?
No, but she's got
Join
a.
them. I'll come and join them.
Either way, can I just say what a lovely person this is, Ann Sidney. Thank you very much for watching the ATW podcast. Good night. God bless. Thank you.